What should your next overseas stock be? Should it be Apple, Google, Tesla, Netflix? What should it be? That's what we're talking about in today's video. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Yolanda. I'm a wealth advisor, and it is my goal on this platform to give you easy, actionable tips, content, and strategies that you can use to manage money well, to live abundantly, and to build generational wealth. I'm the founder of Financially Fabulous Females, an online education platform, and this is one of the videos of mine that you're watching. I'm also the director of Solomon Wealth Management. We are a registered and licensed financial services provider in South Africa. Remember that the content of this video is not financial advice. Financial advice is when you sit with a professional, we assess whatever it is your goals are, your priorities are, where you want to be in your life, and then we'll give you customized solutions to your unique circumstances. So because I haven't spoken to you one-on-one, you may be a client watching this. Okay, if you find anything interesting here, we can sit and chat about it. But if you haven't sat with somebody, a professional one-on-one, please don't take this and implement it as financial advice. This is financial education. And the goal of today's video is to give you a thought process and what you should be thinking about when you are picking your next international stock. Okay, so what should it be? Google, Tesla, Apple, Amazon. What is your pick? Are you investing in any of these shares already? Let me know in the comments below. Well, I don't think you should be picking any one of those. I think you should be picking all of that. And collectively, these high-ranking shares, they're known as the Magnificent Seven. Shares like Apple, Google's parent company, Alphabet, Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft, all of them bundled together. They're known in the industry as the Magnificent Seven. And I think everybody needs to be have a little bit of exposure to this, whether it's in your retirement fund, your kids' education, your wealth building. You don't have to pick either or. You can have a bundle in an index. In this past week, we saw the S&P 500 reach an all-time high of 4,900 some change. All right, a big part of the S&P 500 is the Magnificent Seven: Netflix, Google, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, and Microsoft. With the whole surge in the S&P 500, we can see that tech has been a major player within the S&P 500 itself. And we find that the Magnificent Seven is a big driver of the surge of the S&P 500. Okay, so look at this graph over here. The last update on this was the 19th of January. It's actually telling us how the S&P has been going. If you look at this orange line, this is the Magnificent Seven. The 7 technology stocks just soaring ahead. This is the S&P average, and this is the balance of the 43. So you can see this gap here is driven by all of this orange. Why do you have to pick one when you can have all? So you may be somebody that's invested in the S&P 500, but this graph shows us that what a big impact the tech stocks have been having. So you need to isolate those tech stocks and invest in that in an index. And if you need that, if you need exposure to that, click the link where you're watching this video, and I would love to chat to you one-on-one. So far, I have showed you why you need to be investing. This graph, that graph with that orange ticker is just reaching higher and higher, and you need to be investing in this. And the major driver within those 7 stocks is the artificial intelligence, information technology. And that's one of the biggest themes of the century, and some exposure to those industries are definitely there. If you look at things like ChatGPT and all of that, it's huge. It's going to change how humanity works, and you need to be capitalizing on that. The second thing that you need to think about is how. If we look at the Magnificent Seven, we look at the breakdown of those companies. Companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Meta, and Google's parent company, Alphabet. Those are big, established companies paying really good dividends. Very, very profitable. But if you look at the other side of the Magnificent Seven, Nvidia, Amazon, Tesla, those are growth stocks. All right, so know how you're investing when it comes to the Magnificent Seven. Are you investing for income? Are you investing for growth? So we spoke about the why you should be investing in the Magnificent Seven, but how do you actually do it? Well, there's 2 ways you can do it, right? The safer way is you keep your money here and you track the Magnificent Seven performance. The next way that you get exposure is you buy each of these shares directly, or even an index like this, offshore. So when your money is offshore, you're investing in foreign currency. Okay, you got to play in the whole offshore game and take all of the various risks that are levied by offshore investments, and specifically offshore equity investments. If you are buying the shares directly, remember when you get into anything, whether it's a relationship, it's the same with your investments. You must always plan for your exits. All right. And when you invest directly in an overseas stock market, you got to understand the estate planning rules. If you had to die while holding these shares, what impact does it have for you and your beneficiary? If you, obviously, we want you to have a long, full life, but if you had to sell those shares, what are the tax impacts? What are the fees involved? You got to know all of that before you jump in and buy the shares. But if you want to get into the Magnificent Seven, you don't want the complication of offshore, then you can park your money in South Africa and let the South African asset managers track that offshore performance. You won't enjoy the full dollar potential growth that comes with it, but you do enjoy the significant growth as well. And with that, you don't enjoy the full downside potential of dollar losses as well. All right, so pros and cons to each one. You have to know your risk here. These stocks, the Magnificent Seven, they are high risk, volatile stocks. One day they're like that, next day like that, and you got to have the stomach for it. If you don't have the stomach for it, don't go near any of these kind of investments. Play in the banks, play with bonds, but don't go near offshore equities. All right, so the second part of the how is how do you get it, right? Is you work with local asset managers and then you start buying these various indexes that give you exposure to the Magnificent Seven. For example, in South Africa, you can have Magnificent Seven exposure in your tax-free investments, in your retirement. Imagine that surge in your retirement, especially if you're not capitalizing on your 45% offshore allocation, your kids' education, all right? In any kind of investment, you are able to capitalize on the Magnificent Seven because we got some income exposure and as part of the Magnificent Seven. So it's great to have as a post-retirement solution as well. Not 100%, but a good 5 to 6% exposure to the Magnificent Seven is something that I would recommend to my clients. So if you're somebody who has not looked at the investment portfolios recently, you could be in some old fuddy-duddy South African offshore equity portfolios and you don't really know what's in there. Okay, now is the best time for you to go and nag your advisor and get really picky as in what funds were selected, why they were selected, and are you getting exposure to these nice high-performing funds? And if you're not, know why you're not. Maybe you don't have the risk tolerance. You should know that. If you're looking to take advantage of some of these high-flying stocks, high-flying indexes, and you want more offshore exposure to your current investments, I'd be glad to speak to you one-on-one. Click the link where you're watching this video and we can chat.